Hello everyone. So many times in your games, you must have seen that your opponent has a weak king, that is, an exploited king. Did you manage to win all of those games? Did you manage to exploit your enemy's king side and win the game? If your answer is yes, then you can skip this video and move to the next one, that is the king in the center. But if you did not, then welcome to this video and we will tell you what to do when your opponent has a exposed king and how to exploit it, and what is the main fundamental rule that you have to keep in mind when your opponent has an exposed king. So in your screen, you can see the first position that we have set up for you. Now over here, how do you know that the king is exposed? Well, it's very simple. Look at his pawn structure. The G file is open and the black king looks terribly weak and exposed. So I would request you to pause the video and try to come up with the best solution for white. Now, if you came up with the move queen to g4 check, well, this is not the best way to continue, because after queen g4 check, black has the move king to h8, and now if you think that you have a move like knight f5, black already has rook g8, and this is not very clear. So let us come at the fundamental rule. What do you do when your opponent has an exposed king? Well, the rule is very simple and it is something that you'll actually enjoy a lot. Bring all your pieces to the attack. So in this position, the best move for white is to get the knight to f5. Now, we are bringing our pieces to the attack, and why this move is the best move, because it not only opens up your rook, your bishop is now open also to come into the attack whenever needed. Now, after you go knight to f5, white's idea is simple. You want to go queen g4 check and queen g7 checkmate. Now, there are many ways for black to continue. Well, if he goes king h8 over here, now if you think of the move queen g4, well, this is not the best move, because once again black plays rook g8 and you are back to the same position. So over here there are many ways to continue, but the best idea is that you get the rook to h3 or the queen to h5. I mean, both the moves are good over here. You can directly go queen to h5, attacking the pawn over here with the idea to get the rook to h3, and there's going to be a mate very soon. So another way how to stop the checkmate on g7 is to get the bishop to f8. But what is the small problem with this? Well, when the bishop comes over here, it is guarding the last rank. So over here, we take advantage of this. And what do? We play the move queen to g4 check. The king only has one square. And now we get the rook to g3. We are threatening a mate on g8. And the bishop cannot move, because if the bishop moves somewhere, then you have a checkmate on g7. So that is the problem that black is facing over here. The only move over here is to play the bishop to h6, which is of course losing, because after knight h6 you are threatening a mate on g7, you are threatening knight into f7 check, and this is just game over. So after knight f5, one more defense for black is black can go knight e6. Now this move seems logical because you are defending the g7 square, and also you look at the last rank. The last rank is not covered. But what is the problem with this move? Well, this move also loses because you have the very powerful move over here, queen to h5. And now you see that you are threatening to get your rook over here and attack on this pawn. So it is very logical over here that, let's say, he plays a move like rook to d8, saying that he also wants to get his pieces, attack your bishop. But now you play the move rook to h3. Knight f8 is forced because you're threatening a mate over here. And now here you have a very subtle little move. Like if you are thinking now you can go queen g4 check, well, this is not the best way to continue, because the knight can come to g6 and you go to the same position. So instead, what do? Now the g7 square is weak because the knight has just left his e6 square and gone to f8. So you play a subtle little move queen to h6 over here. You are threatening a mate in one. The knight cannot move because then you hit on h7, and for example this is a checkmate. So black is completely busted. So let us come back to the initial position that we had, and over here we saw that black's king is exposed. It is weak. You have a g file open, And how do you continue the attack? You get all the pieces in the attack. You start with knight f5, not with queen g4 check. You go knight f5, and whatever black plays, whether he goes king h8, bishop f8, or knight e6, he's completely busted because your bishop is going to enter soon. Your rook can swing over to the g file or the h file. Your queen is coming out to g4, h5, and you know what? You are completely winning over here. Coming to the next position, it is again white to move, and we can see that black has an exposed king. You can see that he has a lot of dark square weaknesses. The G file is open. So now my question to you is, with the white pieces, how do you expose this black's king side? Pause the video and try to come up with the solution. Well, if you came up with the move queen to G4 check, this again black can simply go king h8, and the lone queen over here cannot launch an attack on the black's king side. You need to bring more pieces. As I said, the fundamental rule, bring all your pieces in the game. So what do you do over here? Over here, white plays the move rook a to d1, hitting the queen and bringing the heavy pieces, that is the rook, in the game. Now black can play a move like queen to c7 over here. Now again, if you play a move like knight d4, this just loses material because you have bishop d4, and after c d4 you can go queen g4 check, and you can take the pawn in the next move, and you are up on material. The king side is again not very safe, and white is comfortably winning. So instead of giving up material, black can say that okay, I have the move queen c7. Now what do you do, guys? Pause the video and try to come up with the move. Over here, white plays the very solid move. Queen to h5. He's getting his queen, and guys, queen is the most powerful piece in attack, as you guys know, and we will also see that more in the upcoming positions. Now you get the queen into the attack. Now over here, the king looks very weak and the g file is open, so it is very natural that black is going to play a move like knight e7, saying that what, even let me try and get my pieces in the defense. And over here, like we said, get the pieces into the attack. White plays the move rook d3. It's a rook lift. The idea is to again get the rook to g file or h file and expose the king. Black can again come and play the move knight g6, saying that what, let me just get my pieces into the attack. And now what happens is this pawn, the idea of getting the queen to h5 was to attack the pawn on h7, which is a weakness. So you get the rook to h3, threatening a check on h7. Knight f8 is like the only move defending this. And guys, now I want you to pause the video and try to come up with the next plan for white. Like if you play a move like rook g3 check or something, black again just comes knight g6, and how do you progress? So there are many ways how you can get the other pieces into the attack. You can think of some ideas like rook e1 and get the other rook into the play, but over here a very strong move is to get the bishop to this diagonal, because on the c3 to h8 diagonal, your pawn on e5 is blocking your own bishop. So you get your bishop to d2, get it to the d2 to h6 diagonal, and as we said, he has dark square weaknesses, black. So you get the last piece into the attack. And over here, let's say black also plays a move like rook to d8. You can already play a move like bishop to g5. The idea to get the bishop in this diagonal was of course to go bishop g5 and try to attack the dark squares. You cannot take this pawn here because the rook falls. So over here, black plays the move, let's say a move like rook d5, and after bishop f6, you can see that black is already lost. The idea is queen h6 and queen g7, and black has no defenders, and black is just defenseless and helpless. So let us go back to the initial position once again, and over here we saw that how we got the rook into the we got the rook into the attack. The queen swung to h5 later, hitting on the h7 square, and then we got the rook lift, getting the rook to h3, and then finally our last piece, guys, the bishop on c3. The bishop on c3 entered the attack, hitting on the dark squares and ultimately winning the game. So guys, we have the third position set up for you, and in both the previous two positions, the message is clear, the fundamental rule is clear. Bring all your pieces into the attack, and this is a very powerful and also a very easy tip to remember. It's a very easy piece of advice that bring your pieces in the game. Now in this position, we can again see that the white king over here is weak, and how do you play this as black? Now over here, if you found the move queen e7, you are absolutely correct, because the queen on a3 was not doing anything. So you get the queen back. The idea is to go queen to h4, and there is just no way how white can stop the attack. The best move for white actually over here, the engine says, is to play a move like queen c1, and after you go queen to h4, just give up the queen and play. So guys, it's a very easy concept, guys. Just bring your pieces in the attack. Like, this was the initial position. The idea was to get the queen to e7, get it to the king side, and win the game. Guys, now coming to the final position on this particular topic, that is, attacking the king, that is exposing the king. I mean, attacking the exposed king. In this position, it is white to move, and you can see that black's king looks weak. I mean, he has this structure. If you look at his weaknesses, it is the light squares over here. But the problem is that while his king is there on the queen side, all your pieces are there on the king side. So you have to get your pieces to his king side, and you have to try and launch an attack. You know what? Over here, if you thought of the move knight d2, this is a great move. And if you thought that you get your knight to d2 and c4 and play, that is of course one of the ways to continue. But another good way to continue is that you first play the move bishop to d7. You attack the rook over here, and after a move like, let's say, rook to e7, you play the very powerful move bishop to c6 check. You are giving the black king a check, and after he plays the move king b8, now you can get the knight to d2. The idea is of course to get the queen to e2 and a6. You want to attack the black king, which is weak. So let's say black plays a move like rook to g8. His idea is to move his pawn to g4 and launch an attack. Because while you want to launch an attack over here, black wants to launch an attack on your king side. But of course, black is just a bit too late, because now you get the queen to e7, e2, and there is no way how black can stop queen e2. So now if he plays a move like g4, you already bring in your queen to a6. You are threatening a mate over here. The only defense for black is to get the knight here defending this, but this is just already lost, because over here you can see how white can launch an attack. The immediate idea, one of the ideas, is to go a4 a5. Let's say white can already play a4, and there's no defense that black has for a5. Another idea that white can have is to get the knight to c4. You can lift the rook to c3, get the rook to b3 or a3, and just blast open black's king side. So guys, you can see that this was the initial position. And who would have thought that in a span of 5 or 6 moves, how white has now gotten into a completely winning position. So guys, the fundamental rule is clear, that when you see your opponent has an exposed king, the fundamental rule is very clear: bring all your pieces into the attack, like we saw in the last 3 or 4 puzzles that we solved, that we showed. That this rule is a very powerful rule. It's a very powerful and a very easy thing to follow. It's very simple. Just get all your pieces when launching an attack. Don't be too quick. Don't do everything in a haste. Just get all your pieces in the attack, and I'm sure you will succeed. And guys, with this, now we will move to the next concept, that is, as we said, attacking the king in the center. So watch out for the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to like this and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video, guys.